And welcome back to the channel where we talk about only good comics. I'm Brant, and this is First. This is that series where we talk about those brand new number one issues, new character debuts, new story arcs, and the like. And this is for books for the second week of October, October 8th, 2025. Lots of books. It's just a really busy time for books and a lot of new number one issues because of certain events that are happening and everything. There weren't a whole lot of other books aside from First. So we've got a whole bunch of books to talk about. I think it's 21 in total, including honorable mentions. But before we get into all of that, we're going to talk about a few of the books from last week. I haven't had a chance to read a whole lot of books this week yet, but I did read three of the number ones, the bigger books from this week that are kind of kicking off different events. So we're going to talk about those. So the first one that I am going to talk about this week is, as we just jump right into all this, is Absolute Evil issue 1. And this is written by Al Ewing with art by Giuseppe Camuncoli. And it's interesting that this comes out at the same time as they're doing the DC K.O stuff, as the Absolute Universe is kind of colliding with the main universe, because this is purely just Absolute Universe story details and everything. So basically what this story is big bads in the Absolute Universe deciding to work together, some more hesitantly than others, to take out these new threats of these heroes. And throughout this book we learn that there have been heroes in this Absolute Universe as long as there were in the main universe, since like the 30s and everything, but they systematically took them out instead of letting them gain ground, form, JSAs and organizations like that. They snuffed them out immediately. Sandman was taken care of early on. Hawkman was kind of persuaded to join the dark side, so on and so forth. So now with these threats of this Wonder Woman and this Batman and this Superman, etc., coming into play, some of the higher up forces, the likes of Ra's al Ghul, Hector Hammond, Veronica Kell, Eleanor Thawne, and what was, I don't know. It's the guy that doesn't joke, which I assume later maybe becomes the Joker. I'm not exactly sure. That's kind of what it seemed like it was leading to for me. So these individuals come together to form basically their version of what they called a Justice League, which was interesting. Their base of operations out of the Hall of Justice and all this stuff. So very interesting, just kind of a dark mirror to the main universe. Even more so with this, instead of them being the Legion of Doom, they are the actual Justice League, and they consider themselves the heroes of this universe. So really interesting way that this came together. Not a whole lot of fanfare, not a lot of action, not a lot of drama, that kind of thing. It was mostly just kind of them recapping what happened in their world and why they should come together. In the meantime, we got some glimpses of some other heroes, and something very gruesome happens to a very famous hero in the main DCU. So that was unexpected, the way that is, and you can see how they continue to snuff out these threats to their reign. So pretty decent setup issue, but the fact that it ties into all of the Absolute books and into possibly the first crossover of these characters, it's kind of exciting in that way. Unfortunately, it's a little overshadowed by some other events that are going on. So the next book we're going to talk about on that note is X-Men Age of Revelation Overture. This is kind of the prelude, the final prelude to Revelation before all the number one issues, which we're going to talk about shortly, kind of coming to fruition, right? So this book jumps us into the future X years later. We don't know. I think at one point it says so many years. I don't remember exactly. Maybe it was like 10 years or something like that. But we're jumped into the future, and present day Cyclops, his consciousness is imprinted upon the future version, because the future version has been basically made mindless, can't speak, because the heir of Apocalypse, Doug Ramsey, has become something else, and his whole vision for the world completely transformed it. And now he rules with an iron fist. The X-Men is a dirty word. And it all starts with that last issue of X-Men where they welcomed Doug Ramsey, Revelation, as he is known. That's the name he's known by now, as the heir of Apocalypse. As they welcomed him into the X-Men, that is the starting point that sent everything into a spiral and killed everything. So it was basically like Legion going back in time and accidentally killing Professor X, Apocalypse. Well, Cyclops saying, "Come on, Doug, join the X-Men," created the Age of Revelation. So a very interesting way that this came about. And now all the X books are going to be told in this reality, and they're going to have to somehow figure out a way to fix this in the past. And but the seeds are already planted. It's very interesting where loyalties are. I'm not going to spoil what characters are on what side, but it was some surprising turns as far as alliances and allegiances of certain characters, and what Revelation has been capable of. And who is on his side, who turns against him, and vice versa, and all this stuff. As far as the issue itself goes, I didn't love the art style. It was a little clunky, a little bulky for my taste, but I thought it was a pretty decent setup issue for this, new status quo for the X books. I can see how this is probably not going to be for everybody, because it is very much like almost like a post-apocalyptic kind of thing, because Revelation with Krakoa and technology and stuff has kind of turned the world into this plant-based, utopia in his mind, but for everybody else it's a nightmare kind of thing. You got these certain characters that are spying on everybody. You can't say certain words, or all this kind of stuff, and Revelation controls language, right? Because that's kind of Doug Ramsey's power, and so he can literally take your language from you. So it's interesting. It's a really interesting world that a lot of thought went into this, so I can appreciate what went into it. I'm not completely sold on the event yet, but I am very curious, and I definitely want to check out some of the books that we'll talk about in just a few minutes. And the final recap for this week is another event kickoff, which is Justice League, the Omega Act Special Issue 1. This kicks off DC K.O, the most anticipated event of the year, by far, I think, at least in my estimation, and other people that I've seen talk about it, and of course my friend group and everything. So DC K.O, this big event that is kicking off next week, starts here as Time Trapper, Booster Gold, and Flash get a glimpse at the future and are trying to convince Time Trapper to convince the Justice League that they can fix this, but they have to work together to do it. And that's kind of where the kicker lies. And so really this issue was just Time Trapper showing Booster Gold and Flash how bad things get, and that even throughout the course of history, this has already been kind of ordained. And we flash back to the early days of Krypton when Lara is friends with Ursa, and they did make a discovery that ties into all of this as well. So it's really interesting, and you're not clear if that's in the Dark Side Absolute universe, or if it's the main universe that seed was planted on the early Krypton. But it does seem like that's where Time Trapper is from. So anyway, very interesting developments in this issue, and an interesting way to kick it off. Didn't get a whole lot of information from it, just that things are grim and they have to all work together, or they're all going to be defeated by this, Dark Side Legion, which we kind of already knew. So it wasn't really new information. It was just kind of getting you excited, getting you pumped up for it. The art was pretty nice in this book as well. Let's see who did the art. This was written by Joshua Williamson, of course, and the art is Yasmin Putri. So really, really nice art style in this book. And yeah, it did. I think it did its job. It kind of, if you were behind or if you hadn't been reading like Superman and Justice League and you didn't know exactly what was going on and you wanted to jump into this event, I think this book kind of it did it could have done a better job at recapping the whole thing as far as the birth of the absolute universe and all that stuff, but it did an okay job of saying, hey, this is what happened to Darkseid, this is why this universe exists, this is what's going to happen if we don't stop it. So in that way it did its job, but the real meat of this story is going to be going forward. So excited about that, but still fun read for this one, especially if you have been following along. All right, that's it for the recaps. That's all I've read. I started Venom. I only got about a third of the way through before I had to record this video. I wanted to read a few more, but just time got away from me. So tune in on Tuesday night on Comic Book Weekly for my thoughts on the rest of the books. Or who knows, maybe I'll do some other videos. It's been a while. Anyway, let's jump into those honorable mentions, though. All right, first honorable mention. As we're getting into spooky season and everything, we're getting into horror content, all this stuff. We've got all this trick or read stuff that I talked about last week. Now we're coming out with stuff like this. We've got Marvel, Black, White, and Blood and Guts. It says face front horror fans. So this is an anthology, I think. Anthology. We've got Al Ewing and Kev Walker kicking things off. We've got Blade stories. We've got G. Willow Wilson she's doing a Blade story. We've got an Iron Man story. We've got several stories. There's a Hulk Silver Surfer on the cover there. So if you're into these Black, White, and Red books and you like a little bit horror bend to your superhero comics, this might be for you. For me, I don't typically get these, but I definitely wanted to make you all aware that this is releasing. On the lighter side of things, over DC and Dynamite doing a little crossover here is Harley Quinn X Elvira hits the stands. This is written by Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor and Juan Samu. So obviously history with Harley Quinn there. So yeah, if you're a fan of mashups, if you're a fan of Palmiotti and Connor's Harley Quinn version of Harley Quinn, definitely check this one out as well. Next up from Image Comics, we have Super Creep Show Special Issue 1. This is from Skybound, written by Dan Waters with art by Carmine Di Giandomenico. And this, I don't know a whole lot about this. All I know is that we've got several creative teams here. We got in addition to that team who are telling a story about a funeral for the world's greatest superhero, we also have Ryan Stegman and Riley Rossmo doing a story about a character called Grave Ghost, who is a superhero who must solve the case of their own death. And then we have Ed Brisson and Andre Bresson doing a chilling tale of when a super serum gets injected into someone who may be more super villain than hero. So it's kind of taking popular tropes and concepts, character archetypes, and kind of mixing it up and doing their take on it in this kind of anthology book. So that's kind of cool. So if that sounds like your kind of jam, check that one out. And finally, from Dark Horse, we have Red Book issue number 1. This is written by James Tynion IV and co-written by Michael Ivanhoe, who is also doing the artwork. So I don't always get Tynion's, smaller indie books like this, but I definitely wanted to shout this one out. I don't know if this will make the cut for me this time, but I do like both of these creators, and it's kind of an interesting concept. It's 1960s Russia, and these 9 students die tragically, but their deaths are mysterious, and it may have to do with an alien, like beyond the stars presence. So yeah, if you enjoy Tynion's indie work and you like a little sci-fi, you might want to check this one out as well. But that's it for the honorable mentions. So now we're going to get into this big list of first issues for this week. All right, first up, we have Marian Heretic, issue number 1. This is from Boom Studios, and this is written by Teeny Howard. And this is a nun who's also, she's a mother superior, she's a witch hunter, and a heretic. And so, interesting juxtaposition of character types here, and abilities, and skill sets and everything. So I don't really know what to think about this, but it's the perfect time of year for a book like this. It says Marian strikes a dark bargain to become the personal enforcer of the church, I guess, or of the sisters. It's a weird concept, but yeah, again, right time of year for it. It could be a sleeper hit. You just don't know. But for me, I'm gonna give this one a possibly good. Don't know if I'm gonna get this one or not, but it's definitely a creative concept for sure. I could definitely see this being like a sci-fi channel movie, or something like that. Then we have Imperial War, Imperial Guardians, issue number 1. This is tying into Imperial, of course. Is anybody still reading this? I've kind of fallen off of this. I got behind on all my books a few weeks back, and I've just been struggling to catch up. And this is one of the events, one of the series that I kind of fell off of a little bit. I was enjoying what I read, but until I saw this in the list, I was like, oh yeah, that's going on still. So yeah, in this one is written by Jonathan Hickman, by the way, with art by it's Dan Abnett and Jonathan Hickman, with art by Corey Smith and Luca Maresca. And this is all about the Super Skrull, who is at the center of the scheme with consequences that will be felt by the entire cosmos. So yeah, are you still following this murder mystery in space? And if you are, what are you thinking of it? And are you getting this one? I'm kind of on the fence about this one, just because, again, I forgot this was even going on momentarily. At the same time, because I've liked what I've enjoyed what I've read thus far of this, I'm going to give it a potentially good. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts on Imperial are. Speaking of Cosmic Marvel, next up we have Return to Planet Hulk issue 1. I believe this is kind of a flashback story. Greg Pak is back writing this with art by Carlo Pagulan. And this is a brand new story in the time when Hulk returned to Planet Hulk to Sakaar. The Sakaar son, savior of the planet, or the World Breaker, the legendary destroyer, will his rage only fuel the chaos of the alien world? It says you're not going to want to miss this. This is so if you are a big Planet Hulk fan and you want to return to that world in that time period, definitely check this out. I love Planet Hulk. It's one of my favorite stories. But every time we go back to there, it doesn't have the same magic. Even if this is taking place within that time period, I still don't know if it'll do it justice or not. But there's always the possibility of it. And when you bring back Greg Pak and that classic time period that it takes place in, I got to give it a potentially good at the very least. So yeah, Return to Planet Hulk gets potentially good for me. And I'll move on before I get any more tongue-tied over this. Now we're getting into that Age of Revelation. First book we're going to talk about is Longshots issue number 1. It says, I kind of like this. It says, buy this comic or all of your favorite heroes will die. Obviously, we're talking Mojo. We're talking Mojo World. We're talking the future. It says Mojo's got a new game. We've got Wonder Man, Hellcat, Bishop, Rhino, and Craven are there to play. Everybody's going to die except for the winner. And so it's just a Mojo World kind of story, but set in this alternate future where Revelation is taking over everything. So I don't know exactly how this ties into that, or if it's just they wanted to do a fun story with these characters that they weren't doing anything else with. You know what I mean? So it's kind of hard to say. This is written by Jonathan Hickman and Jerry Duggan with art by Alan Robinson. So in this particular book, Hickman teaming up with Jerry Duggan. So, a pretty strong creative team there. But again, I just don't know how important this is going to be to the overall story. So yeah, I'll give it a potentially good, but I just don't know if it's a must read or if it's going to be more of pick and choose the characters that you want to follow in this world. You know what I mean? So let me know which ones you're going to pick up. Stepping outside of the Age of Revelation for a second, going back into the spooky season, it's Halloween, and we're just going to tell some stories about some popular young characters. So we got Nico and Carolina, we got Teddy and Billy, and they're playing an RPG, and they come across the Scarlet Witch's door. So you're throwing in a bunch of magical characters, a bunch of new Avengers and Runaways characters together, matching it up with Halloween night and RPG, kind of Stranger Things, leaning into that a little bit. This is not going to be for everybody. This is written by Jeremy Whitley, though, with art by Bailey Underwood. I know this is not going to be for everybody, but I love these characters, and I kind of love the concept, so I'm probably going to get this one. It sounds like a fun time to me. I'm going to give it a potentially good, just because, it is just going to be kind of a throwaway story. But if you like all those things, all those elements, just like I do, definitely check this one out. But again, I know this one's not going to be for everybody. So this is kind of a guilty pleasure one for me. All right, we're diving back into some flashbacks here. We've got the Amazing Spider-Man Torn. And this is going back to Peter Parker's college days. J. Michael Straczynski. Man, I'm getting so tongue-tied this week. J. Michael Straczynski is writing this and taking us back to that time period. So we're going to see Gwen Stacy, Harry Osborn, MJ, and Flash Thompson. I just don't know how many more of these we need. You know what I mean? This is with art by Perry Perez. So it's going to be pretty. It's going to be well written. It's not necessary. And I'm probably going to skip this, but I definitely wanted to make you aware if you're a big, JMS fan, or you love these throwback series. A lot of them are good. I'm not going to say they're not good. I don't know. Marvel does so many of these days. But anyway, I'm going to give this one a possibly good. I'm not the hugest JMS Spider-Man fan. Nothing wrong with JMS, just his Spider-Man was never my favorite. So yeah, possibly good for me for the Amazing Spider-Man Torn. Here's an interesting one from Boom Studios, Mary Sue. Really laying into that name too. A Mary Sue, character. If you don't know what that means, look it up. I'm not gonna explain it, but because I would do a terrible job at trying to explain it. Trust me, I'm terrible at explaining stuff like that. But basically, this is about a girl named Cassie who is, has her friend group. She likes to talk about her favorite show, Riverview, which I assume is like a Riverdale kind of thing. She does fanfic and all this stuff, and now her fanfic persona is coming to life. And I don't know where it's going from there, but that's kind of where the name comes from, Mary Sue and all that stuff. So, and it says Cassie thinks things can't get more humiliating until her very own Mary Sue pops right out of her fanfic to save the day, when she's dealing with her friends kind of teasing her and all this kind of stuff. So very Boom Studios type of book. Again, one of these books is not going to be for everybody, but I kind of like it. I think it's a fun concept. I'm probably going to check out the first issue. I can see Mike rolling his eyes. Mike Spider-Slate is probably not going to get this, but I think it would be funny. Yeah, so for me, though, I'm going to give Mary Sue a potentially good. And I'm just hoping for, fun, kind of stupid, fun story. That's what it sounds like to me. It sounds right up my alley. Sounds like the kind of stuff that I just have fun with, right? So there you go. Mary Sue from Boom Studios. Next up is Deluge issue 1 from Ignition Press. This is written by Colin Bunn with art by Marika Cresta, and this takes place in a women's correctional facility. And this hard rain is falling, and the water, they can't keep it out of the prison. And with the water comes this horrific monster. So Ignition Press have been doing some really interesting concepts. I've yet to read one of them yet, but I'm excited about them. This is a horror series from Cullen Bunn. It's kind of a genre, go-to genre. The cover looks gorgeous there. So I'm going to give this a potentially good. And yeah, hopefully we'll continue to get some more cool books from this new publisher. All right, next up in the Age of Revelation tie-ins, we have World of Revelation. This seems to be a book that is just going to kind of fill you in on what's going on in different parts of the Marvel universe in this world. We're, seeing what Apocalypse thinks of this on Araco and different things. This one is written by Al Ewing with art by Augustin Alessio. So I don't know how important this one is going to be. I know Apocalypse is probably going to have a big part to play in this, considering that Revelation is his heir. So this might be one to pay attention to. At the same time, I just don't know. I don't know. We're going to see what happened to the Fantastic Four in this. We're going to see what happened to different characters, but I have a feeling that this one is not going to be action packed. So just keep that in mind going into this one. For me, I'm going to give World of Revelation a possibly good just based on that. From Mad Cave, we have Temporal issue 1, and this is written by Stephanie Williams, who did Nubia in the Amazons, Moon Girl, Devil Dinosaur, etc. If you're familiar with her work. And this is interesting. This is about a character that used to be a time-traveling thief, basically. Now we're 10 years into the future. They've kind of left that life behind, maybe moved on with their lives and everything, but this gaming console actually triggers memories of this former life that she had, and she goes back into time travel for one last mission, and things go horribly wrong pretty fast. So first of all, the art looks pretty spectacular there. I'm really interested in the art style here. We've got art by Asia Fulmore. Not familiar with that artist. I don't know if is that the cover artist as well? No, the cover artist is Tareen Clark. So I'm not sure what the interior art's going to look like. But I like the concept. That's something that I would read, something I would watch as well. So yeah, I'm curious about this. Mad Cave, again, they do a lot of books that I personally like. So I'm always, excited to try a new Mad Cave book. So for this one, I'm going to give it a potentially good as well. Then we have Marvel Knights Punisher issue 1, returning to the Marvel Knights world. We got Jimmy Palmiotti and Dan Panosian on this. So some veteran creators going back to the worlds of Marvel Knights. Of course, Palmiotti co-founded the Marvel Knights line. And yeah, so this is all about Frank Castle, how he got from killer of killers to the man you met in the world to come. So if you're interested in connecting that tissue, definitely check this one out. For me, I'm not the hugest Punisher fan, and I don't know that I need this personally. And I didn't read a whole lot of Marvel Knights back in the day either. So I don't know if I'm going to get this one, but I will give it a potentially good, just based on the history there and the creators involved and everything. So if you do pick this up, let me know if it's any good. As we weave back into Age of Revelation, we've got Amazing X-Men issue number 1. This is basically the relaunch of the X-Men title. Jed MacKay writing here with art by Mahmoud Asrar. I probably pronounced that incorrectly. Anyway, so this is, the main X-Men team, and they're of course on the run. They're against Revelation in this reality and everything. If you read Overture, you know where these characters stand. In this, it says they're on the run after a deadly clash with Revelation. The X-Men are shattered, and they're trying to gamble everything on one last mission. as they go into the haunted ruins of Grey Malkin. So, based on Overture and based on my feelings towards the X-Men book prior to this event, I'm going to give this a potentially good, which is kind of my. If you're new to the channel, I go possibly, potentially, promisingly, and positively. So it's kind of one of those mid, like, there's some good elements to it, and it could be a good story. It could be well told. It could be exciting, but it also might not be. So it's one of those. It's like I'm kind of on the fence about it a little bit. You know what I mean? So sticking with the Age of Revelation, we've got Binary issue number 1, and this one is written by Stephanie Phillips with art by Giada Belviso. Now, I'm a big fan of Stephanie Phillips' writing, so I'm definitely going to check this one out. I also like the Binary character quite a bit. So in this version, Binary has combined with the Phoenix Force, and we're going to see how that comes into play with the Age of Revelation and everything. So I'm very curious about this one, actually. So for Binary, I'm actually going to give it a promisingly good. And yeah, I'm low-key excited for this one. Yet another Age of Revelation book. We've got Laura Kinney, Sabretooth. Yep, you read that right. You heard that right, I should say. And I read that right. She's taken the name of Sabretooth in this reality, and we're going to find out why she abandoned her legacy. I'm assuming it ties into something that happened inside of Overture. If you know, you know. I would assume that that's kind of leaning towards that way. And it says when loyalty changes, blood means everything. So yeah, that's interesting. Erica Schultz is writing this. She's got a history with Laura Kinney of recent couple of years. I haven't always loved those miniseries. I don't think I made it past the first issue of the last one. So I'm kind of a little bit, hesitant on this one as well. Art by Valentina Pinti, who I'm not familiar with, but I am very curious as to why Laura Kinney has taken up the mantle of Sabretooth. So I'm definitely going to try this one out, and I'm going to give this one a potentially good. All right, we're down to our last 3 books. I saved the biggest 2 for last, but this one I definitely wanted to keep in this list as well. This is from Dark Comics. This is The Guy in the Chair, issue number 1, and this is written by Hannah Rose May. And if you're not familiar with that name, the Image Comics series Rogues Gallery, which I loved. I absolutely loved that series. I thought it was fantastic. We kind of raved about it over on Comic Book Weekly, and Hannah Rose May created that. And now she has The Guy in the Chair. This, I'm just going to read a little bit of this. It says, in the blood-soaked world of assassins and spies, love has no place. Unfortunately for Abby, a tactical and a private military company, love is all about. Against his employer's strict policy, he's fallen head over heels for Merlin, the field operative whose missions he supports as her guy in the chair. So this is basically the guy in the chair that falls in love with the superhero or the operative or whatever, and that's the story that we're going to tell here. This is great. This is a perspective that we don't get that often. This kind of thing, we don't focus on the guy in the chair. So I love that we're actually doing that here. And yeah, again, I'm a fan of this creator, so I'm definitely going to check this one out, and I'm going to give this one a promisingly good. All right, here we go. Transformers issue number 25. This is the first issue of the next era of Transformers. Robert Kirkman and Dan Mora are taking over as the creative team on Transformers as Daniel Warren Johnson has stepped down. So we know that Robert Kirkman is kind of constructing this whole Energon universe anyway, with Void Rivals. And yeah, so I'm very curious to see what the difference in tone, if any, is going to be between Daniel Warren Johnson and Robert Kirkman, because they're very different writers. They have very different strengths and very different ways they lean into characters and stories. So I'm very curious how this is going to be. The art is going to be absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it's Dan Mora, one of my favorite artists in comics ever, pretty much, but definitely one of my current favorites. But yeah, the way we left it off with, we had this big epic battle between the Transformers, between Optimus Prime and Megatron, and all this stuff. And now we have Optimus and the remaining Autobots joining forces to protect Earth. And yeah, we're going to see where the story goes from here. We don't have much to go on here, so I'm excited about it. Transformers is always good. The Energon universe, for me personally, has been phenomenal. So I'm going to give this one a positively good, and I'm just going to hope that the team of Kirkman and Mora continue this book on the trajectory that it was, take it to maybe even new heights. Who knows? We'll see. But I'm excited for Transformers going forward. I'll miss Daniel Warren Johnson. I thought he did a fantastic job with the Transformers franchise. He did it. He boiled it down in a way that it wasn't overwhelming, and that's something I've never seen another single creator do with Transformers in comic form. So hats off to Daniel Warren Johnson, and hopefully, Robert Kirkman's really good at juggling characters as well. So we'll see what he can do with the Transformers characters. And of course, you knew what the number one book was going to be. DC K.O. issue number 1. It is finally here. We've been talking about it. It's been hyped up like crazy. We had the Omega Act this week. Now we've got DC K.O. coming, and I'm excited. I don't know what to really expect from it. We know that the Justice League and Time Trapper have to team up to take on the forces of the dark side. We know that there's some kind of tournament. We know that there's some kind of weapons or tech or something that they have to use or utilize here and there. They're going to be on a race to get things at certain times. It's going to be, sometimes it's going to be one-on-one. Sometimes it's going to be brawls. We just don't know until we get this book in our hands what it's going to be like. Of course, it's written by Joshua Williamson, Scott Snyder, art by Javier Fernandez. And yeah, I'm excited about it. There's nothing else to say about it. Until we get it, we just don't know what to truly expect from this book. So for me, I'm going to give this one a promisingly good. I'm not going to give it a positively just because I don't know what it's going to be. But promisingly good for sure, hands down. And absolutely my most anticipated book this week. Yeah, so there you go, DC K.O. All right, so that is all the firsts. Like, that wasn't that many. It was a whole lot of firsts and a lot of big books. Like, I mean, we got so much going on this month. It's crazy. So my list of other books is shorter than usual this week. So I've got 6 on the docket this week. We've got Green Lantern Corps issue number 9. This is, I think this is the final. Yeah, this is the final installment of the Starbreaker Supremacy arc that's been crossing over between the 2 Green Lantern books. So this is the final battle between those. Maybe we'll learn what's going on with Cronus and Ellie's, or is it Ellie? Kelly's Gauntlet. I got the 2 kid characters mixed up. Kelly's Gauntlet and all this stuff. So I'm excited for to see how that all wraps up. The Unchosen issue number 4. This has been a fun series for me. I really like this. David Marquez doing the writing and art on this book, and it's just I think it's a underrated series personally. It's from Image Comics. If you've not checked it out, it's about this character that was unchosen and might have been on the wrong side and might be on the wrong side now. You just don't know. There's a lot of mystery involved with this series. Spider-Man 94 issue 2. It's interesting, going back to this era. Plus, I was struggling for books to put on this. I don't know if I'm going to continue this long term and introducing Moreland. I think this is going to be like the issue to tell me whether I finish this mini series or not. Someone tell me if it's 5 issues or if it's 3. If it's 3, obviously I'm going to finish it. If it's 5, I may not. If I don't like this issue. So yes, it made this list, but I'm still on the fence with this one, actually. The Avengers issue number 31. I jumped back in when we were promised the missing moment, and now I'm back into the story, and I kind of want to see it through. This is all about Kang, so I'm gonna see it through to the end, I guess. Absolute Batman issue number 13. We have him possibly trapped in Arkham forever. we'll see. It's the final showdown with Bane. And then finally, the Sacrificers issue number 16. This is the final devastating crescendo of this epic story. So definitely excited to see that one wrap up as well. And that's it. That's all the books I got to talk about. I'm going to kind of wrap it up here before I get even more tongue-tied. I don't know why my mouth decides not to work when I go to do a video. It's just like, I don't know. Anyway, it's one of those days, I suppose. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please consider giving it a like. Thumbs up, does help. Makes me feel good too. And of course, consider hitting that subscribe and notification bell so you don't miss any of the episodes when they go live. Follow me across social media at Only Good Comics, or type in onlygoodcomics.com to take you right back to this YouTube channel where we talk about only good comics. Until next time, thanks for watching. Take care. Keep reading those comics, and I'll see you soon.